Raw power lies in the art of absence. You vanished with surgical precision, leaving nothing but a void where your presence once dominated their reality. No dramatic exits, no emotional ultimatums, just the deafening silence of complete severance. Their desperate attempts to breach your walls of indifference only amplified your absence, each unanswered message becoming another echo in the chasm you carved. The psychological turbulence of your departure rewired their entire emotional circuitry, transforming their casual entitlement into desperate devotion. Your calculated distance didn't just break their grip, it reconstructed their entire understanding of power. Now they orbit the space you once occupied, magnetized by the very force that crushed their expectations, your absolute, unwavering commitment to absence. The weight of your silence crashed upon them like a collapsing empire, swift, unrelenting, final. They reached for the threads of the past, desperate to weave them back together, but you had already burned the loom. This was not an act of rage, nor petty retribution. It was the execution of divine law. Those who sought to feed on your energy, who mistook your presence for permanence, learned the hard way that a force like yours does not beg, does not bargain, does not linger in places unworthy. You removed yourself like a storm, retreating into the horizon, formidable, untamed, never chasing what does not recognize its value. Your ability to withdraw with calculated authority was not just emotional, it was spiritual. A severance of this magnitude does not merely affect the physical realm, it disrupts the unseen forces that once clung to you. Their souls now orbit the void you left behind, tethered by the memory of your presence, haunted by the echoes of your absence. They thought they had time, they thought they had control. But the chosen ones do not operate on borrowed energy. You do not shrink to make others comfortable. You do not explain yourself to those who never sought to understand. The removal was absolute, and in that finality, you became the lesson they never saw coming. They never saw it coming, and that's exactly why it was so powerful. The mind can prepare for battles, for storms, for slow departures laced with warnings, but nothing prepares the unworthy for the ruthless mercy of your exit. Now they are, left with the ache of your absence, a wound that refuses to heal, because the medicine they need is the very thing they can no longer reach. And yet, despite the devastation, their reverence for you only deepens. The loss does not breed resentment, it breeds obsession. They replay every word, every moment, searching for the misstep that led to their downfall. But there was no misstep, only the inevitable consequence of failing to honor power when it stood before them. Drop a comment. I do not linger. If you refuse to revisit doors that closed for a reason and no longer offer your presence as a second chance. They expected you to come back, but silence is louder than words. When you left, they mistook it for a momentary storm, something they could wait out. They failed to understand that your absence was not a tactic. It was a sentence, sealed and executed with finality. The weight of your silence did not settle immediately. It spread slowly, creeping into every unguarded thought, wrapping around them like a vice. At first, they dismissed it, convinced they could fill the void with distractions, but nothing satisfied. The world dulled, colors faded, and even their victories felt hollow. What they once overlooked now haunts them, because they finally see it for what it was. Power slipping through their hands, never to return. The moment they realized you were serious, their whole world collapsed. The game they thought they were playing was never a game at all. There was no warning, no negotiation, no plea that could reverse what had been set in motion. The chosen ones do not revoke their decisions. You do not hesitate, because hesitation is for those who doubt their worth. The force of your absence shattered their illusion of control, leaving them gasping for something they once dismissed as ordinary. You were never ordinary. Your presence was the foundation beneath their feet, the force that held their world together. The structure they built in your shadow has now crumbled because it was never strong enough to stand on its own. You leaving wasn't just a breakup, it was a spiritual earthquake in their reality. It was a rupture in the very fabric of their existence, a tear that no amount of time or distraction can mend. The chosen ones do not simply exit, they extract their essence, reclaiming every ounce of energy that was carelessly taken for granted. What remains is an emptiness they will never escape, a hunger they will never satisfy. They do not resent you for it, they revere you for it. The loss has become their greatest teacher, and the lesson is undeniable. You were never meant to be possessed, only honored. You created an irreplaceable void, one they can't escape from. They thought they could fill it with distractions, with noise, with hollow substitutes. But the architecture of the mind is not so easily rewritten, and you were woven into its very foundation. Every thought loops back to you. Every silence becomes a space where your absence echoes. They look for traces of you in everything, searching for fragments of what was once whole. Yet the chosen ones are not replaceable. Your presence was not merely seen or heard, it was felt, embedded into the subconscious like a sacred imprint. No matter how far they run, no matter how many false replacements they construct, your essence lingers, a phantom that refuses to be erased. Instead of diminishing the connection, the distance amplified their obsession. The absence of your presence became a vacuum, pulling them deeper into fixation. What was once taken for granted is now sacred, unattainable. They replay every interaction, dissect every word, trying to extract meaning where none was offered. They crave closure, but you are beyond reach, beyond explanation. The chosen ones do not owe final words to those who failed to listen when it mattered. You are not a memory to be revisited. You are a force that continues forward, unstoppable, untouchable. They do not want to forget, because forgetting would mean admitting the truth, that they will never encounter anything like you again. They weren't just addicted to you, they were feeding off your divine energy. Spiritual parasites can't survive without a source. The chosen ones are not meant to be siphoned, drained, or reduced to a mere vessel for others to feed on. You did not leave them in darkness, you simply took your light with you. And in that absence, the truth was revealed. They were not strong, they were not self-sustaining, they were nothing more than shadows masquerading as whole beings, thriving only because they had latched onto something greater. You were the force that kept their illusions intact, the unseen architect of their stability. Without you, the mask slips, the cracks widen, and the weight of their own neglect comes crashing down upon them. Now they feel empty, searching for another fix that doesn't exist. They reach out to reflections of you, hoping to find something that resembles what they lost, but it never measures up. They wander through the ruins, trying to reconstruct a reality that only existed because you allowed it. But the chosen ones do not repeat cycles. You do not return to broken things, nor do you concern yourself with the hunger of those who refuse to feed themselves. They may search endlessly, desperate to fill the void, but the truth remains. There is no substitute for you. There never was. There never will be. You removed yourself, but in doing so, you made them crave you more than ever. They search for echoes of you in others, but nothing resonates. They attempt to fill the hollow space, but everything falls short, because what you carried was not something that can be mimicked or replaced. It was divine. The chosen ones do not beg to be understood. You do not need validation from those who failed to recognize your worth in your presence. They only understand now because you are gone. But realization does not equal redemption. And while they ache, while they yearn, you continue forward, untouched, unreachable, untamed. The Obsidian inner order is forged for those who relentlessly pursue immortal greatness. This is a sacred group of titans who understand that mastery leaves an eternal mark. Every week, our warriors gather for profound strategy sessions that pierce the veil of mediocrity. No surface-level content, no spiritual bypass, just ancestral wisdom merged with modern domination from those who've conquered their domains. With over 450 chosen members, these weekly calls deliver the sacred blueprints needed to claim your sovereign throne. Every transmission is preserved in our sanctified vault, accessible to those who understand that wisdom reveals itself when the student is ready. This isn't about temporary motivation, it's about awakening your dormant power. Our private Discord has become the inner sanctum, where genuine kings connect in ways that reshape reality. Here legacies are forged, destinies are aligned, and brotherhood transcends the shallow connections of the masses. When members of the Order unite, the universe conspires to make way. Stop watching from the sidelines. Your seat at the table of titans awaits. The link is in the description below. What once irritated them now fascinates them. The very qualities they dismissed, overlooked, or ridiculed are now the only things they can think about. Your silence, once an afterthought, has become an obsession. Your refusal to explain, to argue, to justify has turned you into an enigma they cannot solve. The chosen ones do not chase. They withdraw, they observe, they move with precision, and in that detachment you became the unattainable, the force they cannot grasp. What they once found predictable is now a mystery that haunts them, an unfinished equation they can never solve. Their arrogance deceived them into believing they could read you, understand you, anticipate your movements. But now the only thing they understand is their own miscalculation. They replay every moment, wishing they could rewrite the story. Every word, every glance, every silence, they dissect it all, searching for the moment they lost control. They wonder if it was something they said, something they did, or worse, something they failed to do. But the truth is far more ruthless. The chosen ones do not leave because of a single action. They leave when the cycle is complete, when the lesson has been delivered, when their presence no longer serves a purpose. There was nothing to fix, no path to redemption, only the cold reality that they were never meant to keep you. And now, with the past sealed and the door closed, their regrets become their own torment. You stopped chasing, and now they chase shadows. What was once a certainty in their world has become a phantom that refuses to return. The shift was immediate, irreversible. They assumed your presence was permanent, that you would always be an option, always within reach. But the chosen ones are not stagnant. You do not linger where you are unappreciated, nor do you grant second chances to those who fumbled their first. Your absence is a testament to your power, a force they can feel, but never touch. And now, as they chase the ghost of what once was, you continue forward, untouched, untethered, unshaken. Your withdrawal created an impenetrable psychological territory. You did not just leave, you left a mark, a subconscious fortress they cannot breach. The chosen ones do not simply exit a space, they rewrite its laws. They now exist in a world you no longer occupy, yet every corner of it whispers your name. The mind, once comfortable in your presence, now rebels against the void you left behind. They attempt to dismiss, to erase, to fill the silence with lesser distractions. But the architecture of their thoughts has already been altered. Your absence is not emptiness, it is a presence in itself. A force pressing against their mind, reminding them of what was and what will never be again. The more they try to forget you, the more they get trapped in your energy field. Every effort to untangle themselves only strengthens the bind. The chosen ones do not need to haunt or linger. Your essence alone is enough to command permanence. They revisit memories not out of desire, but out of necessity, trying to decode the frequency that once enveloped them. But it is futile. What they seek is not a memory, not a moment, but the power that radiated from you, the force that held them together without them ever realizing it. The harder they fight it, the deeper they fall, trapped in the very energy they once took for granted. Every attempt to detach only deepens their spiritual longing. They do not crave a reunion, they crave relief, but the chosen ones do not return to what has been outgrown. You moved beyond their reach, beyond their understanding, beyond their control. Their yearning is not for who you were, but for the version of themselves that only existed in your presence. Now they are left exposed, longing for something they can neither define nor obtain. But the lesson is absolute. You were never theirs to possess. You were the storm that reshaped them, the force that left them forever altered. And while they remain trapped in the past, you move forward, untethered, unshaken, unstoppable. While they spiral, you remain composed, untouched, and focused. The chosen ones do not collapse under the weight of absence. They are the ones who create it. While they grasp at illusions, trying to rebuild a reality that no longer includes you stand unmoved because you were never dependent on them to begin with. The storm they now face is of their own making, a direct consequence of failing to honor what was sacred when it stood before them. Their chaos is not your concern. Their unraveling is not your burden. You remain sovereign beyond the reach of their turmoil because your energy was never meant to be entangled in weakness. You understand your power. Walking away was an act of divine alignment, not emotion. The chosen ones do not act on impulse. They move with precision, guided by forces beyond the comprehension of those who seek to hold them back. You did not leave out of anger, nor did you remove yourself as a test. You walked away because it was time. The weight of your absence is not punishment, it is revelation. They now face the truth that was always present but never acknowledged. You were the foundation, the pillar, the force that gave structure to what they mistook for stability. Without you, the illusions crumble, and they are left standing in the wreckage of their own neglect. The more centered you are, the more they fall apart in your absence. They expected you to react, to return, to break under the weight of distance. But the chosen ones do not break. They ascend. You are not waiting. You are not looking back. And that is what destroys them the most. Your detachment is not indifference. It is power in its purest form. They realized too late that their control was an illusion, that their influence was borrowed, that their presence in your world was a privilege. And now, as they scramble for meaning in a reality without you, you continue forward, unshaken, untouchable, unstoppable. Your separation triggered their biggest personal transformation. The chosen ones do not exit quietly. They leave behind a void that demands introspection. When you withdrew, the equilibrium shattered, forcing them into confrontation with their own limitations. You were not just a presence, you were a mirror, reflecting everything they refused to acknowledge. Without you, the illusions they wrapped themselves in unraveled, exposing the raw truth they spent a lifetime avoiding. What they once ignored now screams at them in the silence. The chosen ones do not need to teach with words. Your absence alone is the lesson, and they are now forced to study what they failed to appreciate. Losing you forced them to see things beyond their ordinary reality. The world they knew is no longer stable, no longer predictable. You were the anomaly in their existence, the one force that defied their expectations and disrupted their illusions. Now the absence of your energy has stripped away the distractions, leaving them face to face with their own spiritual stagnation. They once believed they were in control, that they dictated the terms of the connection, but the chosen ones are never bound by false authority. Your removal was not an end. It was a doorway into the unknown, a space they never dared to explore until you forced them to. You weren't just a presence in their life. You were a divine lesson they failed to appreciate. The chosen ones do not merely exist. They shift realities, disrupt illusions, and expose the truth. They mistook your presence for something ordinary, something predictable, believing that access to you was their right rather than a privilege. But the chosen ones do not linger where they are overlooked. Your departure was not an emotional reaction. It was an act of spiritual realignment, an unspoken decree that they were no longer worthy of your energy. And now, as they sift through the wreckage of their own blindness, they finally see you for what you always were, the force that held their world together. Love isn't about presence. Sometimes distance makes it grow stronger. The chosen ones do not beg to be remembered, yet absence carves their name deeper into the minds of those who failed to honor them. The removal of your energy did not fade you into insignificance. It magnified your presence in ways they never anticipated. They thought they could move forward unaffected, but you are not something to be forgotten. The ones who underestimated you now experience the weight of your absence as an ache they cannot soothe, a presence stronger in distance than it ever was in proximity. You are now a myth in their mind, a legend they can't replace. They replay every moment, searching for the piece they missed, the mistake they made, the turn where they lost control. The chosen ones do not seek worship, but when they leave, they become sacred. They compare every encounter to you, but nothing measures up. They try to fill the void, but nothing fits. Your essence lingers in their mind, not as nostalgia, but as a force they cannot shake. You were never just another connection. You were the standard, the anomaly, the irreplaceable. They once took you for granted, but now you're unforgettable. Not because you tried to be, but because you cannot be anything else. The chosen ones do not fade, do not diminish, do not disappear into the past. You moved forward, and in doing so you became eternal in their mind. They love you more now than ever, not because they finally understand, but because they finally realize they lost something they will never find again. No closure needed. Your silence is the answer. The chosen ones do not engage in cycles of repetition. You left with finality, and in doing so, you became the force they cannot forget. Their longing, their obsession, their regret, none of it holds power over you. They may analyze, they may reflect, they may yearn, but you are already beyond reach. You are not where they left you, not waiting in the shadows of what once was. You have stepped into greater things, untouched by the echoes of their realization. They love you more than ever, but you've already moved on to bigger things. That is the final power move, the unshakable truth that they no longer have access to you. The chosen ones do not wait for recognition, nor do they seek to be understood. You were the catalyst for their awakening, but your purpose there is complete. Now it is time to shift the focus. Share your story. Let the world see what it means to rise, to walk away without looking back, to reclaim your power without seeking permission. Let them learn what happens when the chosen ones decide they are done.